How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final fight. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
All
not
Drill
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent $200.
Literally.
So
Not
it's,
Ian.
it's not a because
Yeah.
I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage. But that's the big part of what's the
Is that what
problem.
you call reporting?
Go
and live
under if
streaming?
you're going to do it.
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise, you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah.
But
Please.
Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
And I've learned a lot from Karlyn Borysenko, who goes in undercover with the left. And I've figured out from looking at her work, like when I first saw her stuff, I was like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. I need to like connect with her. And she actually, the first time I got assaulted in 2025, followed me and sent me messages. And she checked on me for months, just privately. It was so nice to have somebody like, are you okay? But I could tell she knew what she was talking about, and I subscribe to her. I look at all her stuff. I've learned so much, and I thought I knew a lot. I've learned so much.
What's up, everyone? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Hey, we got a couple early dubs in the chat. Old Sub Sailor in with 5 channel memberships. Thank you so much, bro. Really appreciate that. Kevin, Michael, thank you so much for the 5 channel memberships. We appreciate you, bro. Thank you for being a great member of the community. We got Red Menace Guru in with a super chat. I'm working 8 to 4 p.m. now since you are always on time. A wizard arrives precisely when they mean to. It works out perfectly for me. Capitalism rocks, and so do you, Queen Karlyn. Thank you, Red Menace Guru. I really appreciate that. And we got Kevin Smith being a member of the channel for 6 months. Appreciate your ongoing support, Kevin. You are the best. Been following Dr. K for a couple of years, but now this YouTube account for 6 months. Wearing the Red Skull Socialism tag. That's a good one. That's a good one. I love that one. I love that shirt. I love that shirt. I love every shirt that I design. Thank you so much, bro. You are the best. I appreciate it. Well, it's Monday. It's Monday. It's raining in New Hampshire. And this week is going to be a little different. This week we're going to have some upheaval. And so I want to give people fair notice that starting on Thursday through the following Monday, I will not be home. Am I going to tell you where I'm going to be? No. Not going to tell you where I'm going to be. Nope, you don't need to know. You don't need to know that information just yet. But I do plan to be streaming while I'm away. I don't mean to go totally fucking dark. I do plan to be streaming while I am not at home, but it just might not be at the usual time. Okay? And so starting on Thursday through Monday, I need to have a little bit of flexibility because I'm going to go and do some stuff and I'm going to go get some information and I'm going to go somewhere and do something. And I'm not going to tell you where or what. And you're going to find out when you find out. And that's going to be the way it is. But I will be wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No, it's not Boston again. I know. I'm like every single time I've been going undercover lately, I've been going to Boston, and that's starting to get a little predictable. So no, I cannot be going to Boston again. Can Victor be in charge? No, Victor does not know how to stream on the internet. No, Victor is not going to come on the stream and do Lego builds. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I know you guys all probably like Victor more than you like me, even though you never even hear from him. Except extremely rarely. But no, Victor will not be manning the ship while I'm gone because I'm going to be streaming when I'm gone. I'm going to be streaming, guys. I'm just not going to be doing it at the usual time, okay? That's all you need to know. But another thing you need to know is that for the next couple days, it would really mean a lot to me if we could hit the channel membership goals, just because when I go into the world and I have to do things like get on planes and book hotel rooms and get DoorDash, and because I don't usually go outside and mill about in the spaces that I go to, and I think you guys can understand why, and get lifts around everywhere that I'm going because I won't have a car. I hope you guys understand why I don't want to have to beg, plead, and cajole over and over and over and over. I don't. I just need 20 people to give 5 channel memberships, and 2 people have already done it, which means that I only need 18 more people on the entire stream to say, Karlyn, I appreciate what you do. I value what you do. I'm going to fund what you do because it is very, very, very deeply important that I remain independently funded and outside of the bullshit content creator ecosystem so that I don't have to sell myself in order to make money, okay? The minute I have to sell out to make money is the minute that you guys aren't going to get the true information. And that's just the way it goes. That is the way it goes. When people take money from political organizations, which I could do if I wanted to, believe me, they're obligated to do what is required for that money. And I don't want to be in that position. I want to be working directly for you guys. T-Mac in with a 20, bro. T-Mac in with a 20. W's to you, good sir. Thank you so much for your generosity. Really appreciate it. Big support. You rock, bro. And then I think I saw another one. We got Badlands in there with 5 W's to you. Thank you so much, Badlands, for the gifted channel memberships. Really, really appreciate you guys. See, look how easy that is, guys. We're already up to 35. Look at that. Easy. Easy peasy. That's the way I like it. And I think that I am going to earn it on today's stream. We're going to start today's stream by eating our vegetables. We're going to eat our vegetables. Pride Month, as you all know, is quickly coming to a close. And I want to get as much queer liberation content in while we can so I can use it all to finish up my book about queer Marxism that's going to be so much better than the Trantifa bullshit that Andy knows going to publish. So I have to publish before him. So I got to do research. So what we're going to be watching today on the channel is called Speaking of Selling the Rainbow. When the market adopts and drops a movement. This is a talk that was given about a month ago, actually a month to this day, at the GLBT Historical Society. Now, fun fact, I have actually been to the GLBT Historical Society in person. They have a whole ACT UP display at the GLBT Historical Society. The GLBT Historical Society is in the Castro District in San Francisco. It is directly across the street, corner to corner, with a queer liberation bookstore that has a giant section of queer books for kids. It also has a lot of other stuff. It has historical material. I've actually bought stuff at that bookstore because like they have these old periodicals of like old queer liberation stuff from like the 70s and the 80s that they sometimes sell there. So I bought some like historical materials from them. They also have an archive of zines. I got a zine on the Mattachine Society, which is basically the birth of like the queer liberation movement, like nationwide, like or queer Marxism rather. And I write about that in the book, which we're going to talk about another day. But anyway, I like some of my research materials have come directly from the queer bookstore that is literally across the street from the GLBT Historical Society. The GLBT Historical Society not only has a giant ACT UP exhibit, and as you know, if you've studied this stuff with me, ACT UP is one of the biggest queer militant movements in the history of the US. It was ongoing for years and years and years. It's the thing that caused the schism between the anti-assimilationist queer Marxists and the gay rights normies who just wanted to assimilate to polite capitalist society. That's the ACT UP movement. There's a display and a fucking big ass exhibit of all their materials at this place right now. They also had a display of the Daughters of Bilitis. The Daughters of Bilitis. Okay, so basically in my book about queer Marxism, chapter 1 of my book about queer Marxism, which is basically about the development and evolution of queer ideology in America from the 1950s until today. Chapter 1 is about the Mattachine Society. The Mattachine Society was basically 5 gay men that got kicked out of the Communist Party in the 50s and formed their own commie gay group in which gays were considered to be an oppressed class. And they did this because back in the 50s, communists didn't allow people to be gay and members of the Communist Party because they thought it was too easy to blackmail people. Well, this became like very quickly a very large group like of gay men that were fighting for gay men's rights, but the leaders of it were communists, okay? They were communists, but most of the membership didn't actually know that. And so it's kind of like, it's a weird origin point for kind of like the development of like, what even is queer Marxism? It started with the Mattachine Society in the 50s. Chapter 2 of my book is about the Daughters of Bilitis. The Daughters of Bilitis was a group of lesbian women in San Francisco in the 60s and into the 70s, and I think they still I don't know if they still exist today, but they definitely existed into the 80s. The Daughters of Bilitis basically were a group of lesbians who just wanted to be lesbians, and they just wanted to be able to hang out with other lesbians and do lesbian things. And it's kind of like the same thing as we talk about the constant schism between the assimilationist gay rights, LGBT normies who literally are like, we just want to get married and visit our loved ones in the hospital, and we just want to have jobs and like all that stuff. That is the normie assimilationist gay rights people. That's what the Daughters of Bilitis started out as. But just like in every other movement in queer history, in comes the communists. And so so the Daughters of Bilitis started this newsletter called The Ladder, LADDER. And I actually have an original copy of it. I have I got an original copy of this because it's like history and I'm trying to archive this stuff for history. The Ladder was a newsletter that was sent out to lesbians nationwide, basically talking about lesbian things. Think of it as like an early lesbian zine. Hey, thanks so much, Mike, for that. I really appreciate it, bro. I'll definitely add that as a channel membership. So the Daughters of Bilitis had this lesbian newsletter that was read all over the country. It was basically a zine. They were publishing it like a zine. It was all self-published. It wasn't like a professional thing. And then along come the communists. And the communists start writing letters into the latter newsletter saying, I don't think we should be trying to assimilate to polite society. I think that we should be more revolutionary. So within this early lesbian group, you also had the same push-pull of, you have these normie gay rights activists that literally are just like, we just want to be able to be gay, and we just want to be able to love whoever we want, and we just want to be able to get married, and we just want to be able to have jobs, and we just want to be able to live in polite society, and that was all that they wanted. And they are encountering these communists who are like, we don't want to assimilate to polite society. We don't want to get married. We don't want to have jobs. And so again, you have this push-pull, and eventually the daughters of elitists were also taken over by this and blah, 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 blah. And that is the constant struggle that we see, the struggle when analyzing the development of queer Marxism in America, because it is a uniquely American phenomenon. It's not as though queer Marxism doesn't exist in other places. It certainly does. But the type of activism that has developed in America is directly influenced by things that happened in America. It is a uniquely American phenomenon. And one of the defining characteristics, my supposition of my book called Queer Marxism, which will be out probably in a couple months, maybe earlier if I really get my shit together. My supposition is that this is the story of the constant struggle between the gay people who just literally wanted to assimilate to polite society and be treated like normal human beings, and the anti-assimilationist queers who never wanted to assimilate to polite society, who never wanted to get married, who never wanted to be in the military, who never wanted to do any of that. That is the constant fight that we see in this discussion. If you want to know more about this, you can head over to my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Click on New to My Work. Start here. I will put it in a link in the chat. It is also on the homepage somewhere. And after, hang on. Why can't I see that? Why can't I see that happening on my own computer? What the fuck screen am I sharing? Sharing this one now. Head over to New to My Work, start here, and I want you to make sure you watch Re-Education at some point. If you've never watched Re-Education, an anti-communist introduction to the far left, you definitely want to watch that. You also may want to watch my 4-hour crash course called How to Speak Socialist. But if you are interested in understanding more about the development of queer Marxism in America, then you want to watch this, an introduction to queer Marxism, the left's most dystopian ideology. This is basically an hour-long lecture that I did where I go into detail on all of the things that I just gave you a very, very high-level overview refresher of, to explain how we got from the Mattachine Society in 1950, went through the Daughters of Elitists in the 60s and the 70s, went through the queer liberation stuff that happened at the Los Angeles Donut Place and Compton's Cafeteria Riot and Stonewall, went through the 80s with the AIDS epidemic, going into the ACT UP movement, and really getting into the 90s with Queers Read This coming out at New York Pride in 1990, getting into the constant fight between the anti-assimilationist queers and the normie gay rights activists, leading into the 2000s where they were really, the normie gay rights activists were fighting for gay marriage. The queers were saying, fuck you, we don't want to get married, fuck you, why are we putting all this money into this? Guys, for people who don't understand this, who might be new to my work, the real far left, the real communists, never wanted gay marriage to be legalized. They never even wanted the normie gay rights activists to be fighting for it, because queers believe that marriage is an assimilationist propertied institution. There would be nothing that would make the queers happier than if Republicans repeal gay marriage. The queer Marxists, the real radical leftists, want gay marriage to be repealed. They never wanted it to be legalized in the first place. And we saw this fighting happen throughout their own documentation and their own writings that were taking place in the 2000s. It was taking place much more than that, but they were really starting to fight in the 2000s. Well, guess what? The normie gay rights activists won. gay marriage was legalized. And when gay marriage was legalized, what happened? The normie gay rights activists, they went and got married. And they said, okay, we won. We got married. We won. We got married. Okay, yeah, I know I need to do that master shake. Okay, thank you. And so when the normie gay rights activists left the movement, what happened? They left a bunch of holes that were filled by queer Marxists. And what else happened in 2015? We started seeing an explosion of the non-binary. An explosion in non-binary pronouns, an explosion of people who no longer recognized that gender was real. That comes from queer Marxism. That does not come from normie gay rights activism. That comes from queer Marxism. The problem is all the normie gay rights activists left and went and got married after gay marriage was legalized and handed over the entire activist establishment to the radical queer far left that is highly militant, anti-assimilationist, and much, much more dystopian than you mostly have any idea. That is the history that we're talking about. That is what happened. So today, what we are going to do... Oh, I see why I couldn't see that. I was on a completely different screen. Hey, thanks, Chicalago. Do gay men and gay women get along? It seems lesbians are satisfied with gay... I mean, I don't really think gay men and lesbians have ever gotten along, if I'm being honest. And listen, man, listen. I am a consummate fag hag. I love gay men, and gay men love me, and I have many gay friends, and I have many gay supporters. We can probably just ask the gay men in the chat, because I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you they do not like lesbians, and lesbians do not like them. This is I think that, but that's just like that is like a matter of like personal preference. Okay, I don't perceive that gay men and lesbians get along all that well. Yeah. As a gay male, I find a lot of lesbians... See, Glow in the Dark is being so nice about it. I find a lot of lesbians to be disagreeable. Yeah. Yeah, I do too, actually. Yep, I do too. Hang on. Oh, man. Got to turn on my air because it's getting hot in my office. Yeah, they're kind of the opposites. Gay men and lesbians don't necessarily get along. But I think what gay men and lesbians do have in common is most of them just want to be left alone to be gay or lesbians. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about queer. Queer is a completely different thing. No, this is wrong. This is actually the opposite. You said the idea that trans people are the gender they transition to is another queer Marxist position. No, not remotely. In fact, men who transition to become women and women who transition to become men are not queer. Men who transition to become women still uphold the concept of the gender binary. Women who transition to become men still uphold the concept of the gender binary. Queer does not want gender to exist. So therefore, saying anyone is the gender of male or female is exactly the opposite of queer, because queer does not want gender to exist. They are gender abolitionists. They are they, thems. They are not he, they are not she. They reject the gender binary entirely. So no, this is completely wrong and backwards, and you need to stop listening to whoever told you this, because that is not true. But I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to correct that, because that is a pretty big misunderstanding of what we're talking about. Let's read the description. Pride started as a protest. The first march in San Francisco was explicitly political, a direct response to police violence and state persecution. That's queer. The first introduction to this talk is queer. Pride was a riot against police. What does the far left hate more than anything else? The police. Pride was a riot against the police. 50 years later, it had floats sponsored by banks, tech companies, and beer brands. Oh no, Pride in San Francisco is becoming capitalist. Queers want to overthrow capitalism. Major corporations, major brands sponsoring Pride is what they call rainbow capitalism. It's businesses exploiting capitalism to get the queer, the gay and queer money, but not actually doing anything to try to advance queer liberation. For a long time, corporate adoption felt like victory, proof that queer identity had gone mainstream. In recent years, however, the climate has shifted. Our community has come under renewed attacks across the country, and many companies have retreated from their embrace of the rainbow. Join all of these people for an in-conversation event at the GLBT Historical Society Museum to ask the questions activists have been raising since the 70s, like I just explained. What does it mean when your liberation, that means overthrowing capitalism, becomes a marketing strategy? Rainbow capitalism. This panel traces the tension between assimilation and resistance. That is the constant tension. That is the constant tension. Normie gay rights activists are assimilationists. Queer Marxists are anti-assimilationists. Normie gay rights activists want to uphold capitalism. Queer Marxists want to overthrow capitalism. Normie gay rights activists believe that gender is real and biological and that men and women are a real thing. Anti-assimilationists do not believe gender is real and want to get rid of it entirely. That is the constant tension. The panel traces the tension between assimilation and resistance that has defined queer politics from the beginning, like I explained, and asks whether the corporate retreat is crisis or an opportunity to remember what Pride was actually for. I don't think you were listening when I phrased it the first time. I don't think you were listening. You like to do this thing where you don't listen explicitly to what I tell you and then you continue to regurgitate conservative retard talking points. The idea that trans people are the gender they identify as before they transition and gender is an opt-in category is a queer Marxist position. No. No. What you're doing is you're trying to ask me the question in a different way to get me to agree with your conservative retard talking points. And again, I'm going to tell you, this is completely fucking wrong. Queer Marxists do not believe in transition. They believe in transcending or transforming gender because they do not believe that gender should exist. I don't know, like, are you fucking stupid, bro? Like, are you actually fucking stupid? I explicitly explained to you, they do not believe gender should exist. They do not believe men exist. They do not believe women exist. There is no fucking transition. There is no gender they identify as. It does not exist. They are gender abolitionists. No. And if you do this one more time, I'm going to silence you for the rest of the stream because obviously you need to do more listening than you're doing typing. Because every time you type something, it doesn't work out in your favor because you're trying to get me to regurgitate conservative retard talking points. And I promise you, I'm much smarter than you. And people that are better than you at this have been trying to get me to do this for years and years and years, and it's not going to work. When I say they are gender abolitionists, what I mean is they are gender abolitionists and they don't want gender to exist, so there is no fucking transition. They don't even use the word transition. Queer means no fucking gender binary. Non-binary means no binary. I don't know how much more clear I can make it. I really, really don't. Hopefully you get it this time. So we're going to be watching this. And then around 7 p.m. Eastern time, I have a surprise. And I'm not going to tell you what the surprise is. We're just going to do it. I'm not going to tell you what the surprise is. But you guys are going to fucking love the surprise, okay? You're going to love the surprise. I need you to trust me. I need you. Why isn't the chat on the screen? Am I being stupid now? Chat's not on the screen? We are going to be doing a special surprise at 7 p.m. Okay. You just need to trust me. But before we get into this, can I have a point of personal privilege? Can I have a point of personal privilege? You know, I heard through the grapevine. Actually, let me take a drink of my protein lemonade that I haven't tried yet. We're going to see if this is any good. That's actually delightful. Protein lemonade. 25 grams of protein in this lemonade. That's delightful. Some might say that when Amalek and I streamed the Lucas Gage interview with Jeremy Boring on Friday, some might say I was being too hard on Lucas Gage by calling him a retard sellout for even doing the interview in the first place, because Lucas Gage should have fucking known better. Should have fucking known better than to ever talk to Jeremy Boring. I don't care if Lucas is having a change of heart. I don't care if Lucas is reanalyzing, relitigating all of the things that he has ever thought for the past 10 plus years. I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care. I start to care when you start selling people out to Zionist fucking Jews that are trying to destroy everyone's fucking life. And I listened to the entire Jeremy Boring interview, and I sat there watching Lucas just take Jeremy Boring shit over and over and over and over and over again like a bitch. And I should have been meaner. I should have actually been meaner. I sure as shit hope Lucas is getting paid a lot of money for this fucking apology tour that he's doing. And I know where he's showing up next because Amalek fucking told me. And no, I'm not going to spill your little secret, Lucas. But I agree with Amalek that I think this is going to get worse. I should have been so much fucking meaner. I sure as shit hope Lucas is getting paid a lot of money for this, because if Lucas is throwing everyone under the fucking bus by working with these people, if he's doing it for free, like, fuck you. Fuck you. You know, I have a beat that I cover, okay? I have a beat that I cover. I cover the far left. That is where most of my energy is going to go. And quite frankly, you know, people might not, I know people want me to speak out against Jewish power more. I know people want me to speak out against Israel more, but I have so much shit I need to do within the area of focus that I have that I decided that being involved in all that stuff at any to any significant degree was going to be a distraction of the thing that I should be working on. It's a distraction because it eats up your entire life, and every time you speak out against this stuff, they attack you and try to destroy everything that you're doing. I am very lucky and I'm very blessed to be independently funded. So they can't easily take my money away, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, is this the fight I want to be in right now? And although I will say things here and there, and although I've made my position quite clear, I believe, and although Zionists have been trying to ruin my fucking life for 5 fucking years now, I still, you know, want to know what really fucking pisses me off about the fact that Lucas gave a statement to Canary Mission? People, it's like, I have for fucking years now, ever since October 7th, I have not wavered in my position of fuck Israel, and I have called out Jewish power a lot more than most people have that are in like a type of position that I'm in. And I've put myself in that situation. I don't regret any of that. And I have been paying since 2021 when I accidentally stepped on a hornet's nest by having the gall to say God loves everyone and therefore Hitler went to heaven because God loves everyone. I didn't even know the fucking hornet's nest that I was stumbling into, and they've been trying to ruin my life since then. Alan, thank you so much for the $10. It was a humiliation ritual that basically makes anyone on the dissident right look like a head case. Boring was purposefully making Gage look like a mental patient. It was pathetic. I mean, listen, man, I think Lucas is making himself look like a retard on its own. But like my big problem with this entire thing is Lucas is handing them W after W after W after W that they are not only going to use against him, they are going to use against all of us in perpetuity for fucking ever. And so when I saw today that Lucas Gage made a statement and is working with Canary Mission, Canary Mission destroys lives. The entire purpose of Canary Mission is to go after people who speak out against Israel and destroy their life. There is no fucking universe in which Lucas does not know this. You could almost say, okay, Lucas, I can understand you giving an interview to Jeremy Boring. You need a platform. You're desperate for the attention. You didn't know he was going to totally fuck you over, even though he damn well should have fucking known. You couldn't have predicted, Lucas, it would be used against you, even though, yes, he fucking should have predicted it. But the fact that he's given a statement to Canary Mission, that Canary Mission is holding up and saying, Lucas Gage is a reformed anti-Semite, and isn't this amazing? It's like, fuck you. Fuck you. Can you imagine what I would be experiencing from the Groypers, from the whole Adam Green space, from pretty much everyone on the dissident right who has ever questioned me? Do you know how much fucking hazing I had to go through after October 7th? Because people are like, you're grifting, and I understand why they might think that, but I have been one of the few people that has been consistent ever since fucking October 7th. And yes, I woke up after October 7th, and yes, a lot of people woke up before me, and that's not something I can control, but all I can control are my actions since then. I can understand why people would question my sincerity in that regard. I really could. But can you imagine the 19 levels of fucking bullshit that I would be put through right now had I given a statement to Canary Mission? Can we just be real for a second? Can we just be fucking real? Can you imagine the blowback that I would be getting if I gave a statement to fucking Canary Mission? And by the way, if it was me doing what Lucas Gage has done, exactly what he has done, they would have said, this is because you're a woman and stupid women shouldn't ever talk and fuck you, you fucking cunt. And they would dox me all over the fucking internet. They would dox my fucking house. They would dox my loved ones. They would attack me every which way from fucking Sunday. And I know this because I've been through this before. Lucas should be experiencing ramifications of this that are much more severe than anything that I would ever have experienced doing exactly the same thing, because he has been in this longer. He should damn well fucking know better. He has more friends that he is throwing under the bus that this is going to be used against forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And he has no comprehension. Like, this asshole needs to experience fucking pain. So far as I'm concerned, not physical pain. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm just saying, if anyone ever gives one red fucking cent to this asshole ever again, they should be considered suspect at best. It just like, it just really fucking burns me. It just really, really, really fucking burns me. Knowing what would happen to me as some minor little bit character if I had done this. And I'm seeing Lucas get some pushback, but you know what? I'm seeing a lot of the men going, hey, Lucas, I really love you, Lucas, but this is a bad idea. Are you fucking shitting me? Are you fucking shitting me? If I did the exact same thing, there would be no one in my reply saying, Karlyn, I don't think this is a good idea. He is being treated like a fucking child that just needs a pat on the head and a cookie. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I don't give a fuck how stupid Lucas Gage is. He's not stupid enough to not understand what Canary Mission is and what Canary Mission has done to people and what Canary Mission will always do to people. So, fuck him. And anyone who doesn't resoundingly cancel his ass and shun him forever. I don't trust anyone that tolerates this fucking bullshit. And like I said, he's only going to keep going on his little media tour because I don't know how else he thinks he's going to make money at this point. Like, I just don't even know. I just don't even know. And I really sincerely hope that the men of the dissident right find their fucking balls and start treating him like he deserves to be treated, because they're doing it with kid gloves right now, and quite frankly, it's fucking pathetic. And then they're going to say in that, you're a woman, shut the fuck up, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you know what? I may be a fucking woman, but I didn't give a statement to Canary Mission that is going to be used against everyone always and forever in perpetuity. So fuck you, assholes. You men want to fucking rule the world? You want white men to rule the fucking world? Rein in your fucking own. You want women to keep quiet when men are making giant-ass fuck-ups like this? Rein in your own. It should not be my responsibility to say fucking anything. The men of the internet already should have taken care of this after the Jeremy Boring interview. The white men of the internet have fucking failed. They have failed to contain the problem. So if I'm the one that needs to get in everyone's faces and say, you're a bunch of fucking retarded pussies if you don't rein this piece of shit in, fine. Fine. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you for the $5 Rumble rant. Zionism is a highly potent cocktail of psychopathy and supremacist ideology. Here's a small contribution to fund your work. Fuck Lucas Gage, that sellout. Yeah, fuck Lucas Gage. And again, guys, this is not about Lucas having a change of heart. This is not about Lucas wanting to relitigate everything he thinks is true. You can do all of those things without giving ammo to the enemy that will be used against everyone forever in perpetuity. Lucas needs to shut the fuck up and stay off the fucking internet and stop fucking talking to people. He wants to retire, right? Lucas says, I'm going to retire from all this. I'm retiring. Then go fucking retire, Lucas. Get the fuck off the internet and shut the fuck up. Yeah. Sounds like I was the better AFPAC VIP guest after all. You know, I know that I will never get any respect in this space. I know that. I'm not even attempting to gain respect in this space at this point. I know that. But when the hypocrisy is so fucking overt, this is why I don't involve myself as much. This is why. Because what would happen to me if I involve myself to any great extent? I would be thrown under the bus instantly, and no one would ever have my back the way they've had Lucas's over and over and over and over and over and over and over every single time he fucks up. No one would ever be in my reply saying, Karlyn, I really like you, but I don't think this is a good idea. No, that would never fucking happen. It would never fucking happen. Okay? So I'm well aware of my place, and that's why I stay over here and I do my own thing, and I don't involve myself in the day-to-day of the dissident, right-wing, anti-Zionist internet. But the fact that they are tolerating this, it's like maybe that's a good reason not to. Maybe that's just as much of a good reason not to. If this is what they want, fine. Fine. Whatever. W's Ninja Artist, thank you so much for that gifted channel membership. Really appreciate it. All right, guys, with that out of the way, let's get into the presentation. And again, guys, I would love to hit that 100 channel membership goal if we can. We're going to be watching this for about the next hour or so, so we'll see how much we can get through. Let's get this party started. May have yapped a little bit too much. That's all right. I'll please speed up the playback a little bit.
Good evening. Hello to friends from before and new friends that are here for the first time. My name is Roberto Ordeñana, and I'm so proud to be the executive director here at the GLBT Historical Society. And I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. I really want to thank all of the members of the society that allow us to put on these incredible events and programs. You know, I think at a time when our community continues to face incredible challenges, direct attacks against the most historically marginalized among us, including trans and gender non-binary people and immigrants in particular. You know, the ability to be able to have critical conversations like the one we're going to have tonight, the ability to have exhibit space and to share and uplift our stories just has never been more important. And we really could not do that without all of you. And we
blah, 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 donors, blah, blah, blah.
Asking who has been to the first buddies.
We're just going to fast forward a little bit, guys.
I would love to introduce our speakers. And I also want to preface the evening by letting you all know that on your seats, we have these little sheets with a little QR code. Feel free to take these home with you. If you don't want to take them home, you can just scan the QR code and leave information. Really helps going to be and get due to a number. Firstly, I would love to introduce our moderator, Sean.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the for being a member of the channel for 7 months, Ninja Artist. Everyone, please click copy link and give Karlyn's video a boost in the algorithm. Yeah, everyone click the like button. Everyone click copy link. I can't control socialist volume, Earl. I love it when people complain about things I can't control.
So Sean Sprocket is an adjunct professor at the California College of the Arts in the Graduate Interaction Design Program, where he teaches visual design and creative thinking. He started developing Unspeakable Vice, a volunteer-based queer history walking tour project in 2018, and the project explores lesser-known stories of LGBTQ San Francisco, particularly the influence of people of color and women in the development of queer culture and activism. And next to him, we have Suzanne Ford, the executive director of SF Pride. Suzanne is the first trans woman to hold the office, and she is a fierce activist working towards equal rights for the trans community. She's a founding member of the SF Pride Golf Tournament, the first and only PGA endorsed event.
One sec. Let me know if this is louder.
Ensuring queer visibility in one of the most cis heteronormative spaces in the world, as well as SF Pride's most lucrative board-led annual fundraiser to date. Suzanne has also served as the president of the board of the Spar Center in Marin County and as a board member, vice president, and treasurer of SF Pride. Originally from Kentucky, she graduated with honors in a BA in history, from Murray State University. She then attended Howard Law School. She was employed as a regional sales manager at Revere Packaging for over 11 years and was named by Plastic News as one of the women breaking the mold in the packing.
Okay, well, I guess there's nothing we can do then. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me try this.
Packaging industry in 2017. The Trans Day of Visibility Committee of San Francisco recognized her with a Legacy Award in 2022. Suzanne was chosen as for the prestigious Honors Foundation Leadership Award in 2024, and recently moved to the iconic Castro neighborhood and is available to speak for groups or employers about trans issues and her experience facing the world as a trans woman. Sitting next to Suzanne is Laura Thomas. Laura is a queer femme living in the Mission with her 3 cats. She works as the senior director of HIV and harm reduction policy for the SFA Foundation, where she leads
then I guess it doesn't work, so I can't do nothing about it.
HIV and public health issues for over 30 years since becoming involved in AIDS activism through ACT UP in San Francisco. She's served in the public health seat on the San Francisco Entertainment Commission since 2016. She previously worked at the Drug Policy Alliance, community-based organizations in San Francisco, and the San Francisco Department of Public Health. She's a former 2-term co-president of the Harvey Milk LGBTQ Democratic Club and was a founding member of the SF Dyke March. She's proud to sit on the LGBT Historical Society Board of Directors, and she graduated from the University of California, Berkeley with a master's in public health and a master's in public policy. Double masters. Woo. And last but certainly not least, we have Elizabeth. Is Huddy or Hoodie? Hootie, that's what I thought. So Elizabeth Hootie is a queer leftist artist and business owner creating playfully enraged propaganda rooted in community building, radical empathy, and maximalism. Since starting the Peach Fuzz in 2017,
Sounds like
she has raised
socialism.
over $300,000 for mutual aid and nonprofits, and provided dozens of free resources for fellow small business owners.
Do you think you're impressing me by not taking this seriously? I can hear it well enough to laugh at it. This is comedy gold. Do you think you impressed me by not taking this fucking seriously? You are in a research group in a classroom. This is not fucking comedy. This is not entertainment. This is research, and we take this seriously. We don't like it when people don't take this seriously and just come here to own the libs because you retarded fucking losers don't know how to do anything productive. You don't even understand the enemies that you claim to be fighting. All you care about is owning the fucking libs.
Early 2023, Elizabeth was brought on to be a featured artist for the 2024 Target Pride collection. After the right-wing tizzy over their 2023 collection, Target abandoned those artists and massively scaled back on all future Pride collaborations, demonstrating just how shallow corporate support for the LGBTQ community can be. So we actually have also, if you are interested, we actually have one of Elizabeth's shirts up in the gift shop that the Peach Fuzz wonderfully and very generously donated to our organization a couple of years ago following that Pride fallout. So if you want to check that out, we have that up front. So I will pass it over. I will pass things over to Sean, and we'll do a facilitated conversation, and then near the end of the night, we'll open it up to questions from the audience. We'll bring out a microphone so that you can be included on the recording. And
Yo, John, thank you so much, bro.
Thank you so much,
W's
Layton.
to you,
Thanks for
my
putting all of
friend.
this together. This is a lot of hard work, so appreciate it. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to begin this conversation. I've been looking forward to this for a while now. These are really great people to be able to speak to about this topic. As Lee mentioned, I do a walking tour project. People at the end of those tours are always asking me questions, usually about how something has changed or what is going on with this topic today. And what perfect better forum than to bring people in who are part of the community, who know more about this topic than I certainly do, who can weigh in and discuss this in a kind of round table. And so tonight's topic I'm really excited to get into, because this definitely comes up one of the most at the end of the tours as people talk about Pride and what's going on with it and other expressions of different kinds of corporate allyship that are happening across multiple different efforts in our community. So I am a teacher, so I can't help but give you just a tiny history lesson, but just to kind of catch everyone up to speed a little bit on kind of the quick history, very abbreviated history of Pride. And I focus on Pride just because it's maybe one of the most visible examples of this corporate allyship and sometimes where we see it. But Pride's history has always been a contentious one, right? Even the very first example of people walking down Polk Street was fiercely debated amongst activists and who it represented and what issues were going to be discussed. Counter-Pride movements were right in the beginning of all of this as well. And so there's always been a really lively discussion about visibility and about who gets to be visible and what that means in the community. And corporate allyship, as that began to happen into the history, became a subject of debate as well. So 3 basic periods. Again, I'm drastically oversimplifying a lot of information here, but if we think of the 70s and 80s as kind of the initial momentum in the protest era, 90s and 2000s, we start to get into some marketing. We start to see more companies become interested in marketing to gay households, which is interesting. And then, of course, the most recent history, we see this retreat, especially with the current administration's pressure to make corporations abandon their DEI efforts. And as a result, we're seeing a lot of defunding of a lot of these efforts. The stat I really thought was pretty shocking here is I was familiar with, of course, San Francisco's loss of sponsorship, but worldwide down 70 to 90% is pretty shocking.
Yo! Andre! I didn't expect that, bro. Big support. Super generous super chat. Thank you so much for the real teacher, Professor Dr. I'm going to take a picture of that one, bro. Thank you so much for the amazing support. I really appreciate you.
So as we jump into this conversation today, I just had these 2 nice juxtaposing images as we think about what corporate allyship means in this context and how certain demonstrations. Oh, is there
Oh, they're trying to fix the audio. Socialists are amazing with audio. It's always so good. Let's see if we can fast forward.
When you think about the word corporate allyship, what image or moment comes to mind? And is it a positive one or a negative one? And then you can pass the mic through.
I mean, so I work in the world of HIV/AIDS, which is not the same thing as LGBTQ pride, but there's a lot of overlap. And really the sort of dominant form of corporate allyship, if you want to call it that, in the HIV world is pharmaceutical companies, right? So we are the market for them. They know that. And they also, many pharmaceutical companies contribute a substantial amount of money from a nonprofit perspective, not from their perspective, but from our perspective, as well as broader LGBTQ initiatives, right? But it's a very double-edged sword. And so, you know, as much as like I have friends who have gone to work for Gilead and things like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are more in reality than a market to them. And you know, we've seen that in pharmaceutical companies when their medication is no longer sort of the leading has the leading market share, they are likely to step away from it and stop funding HIV organizations. And I think it also has a chilling effect on, you know, the extent to which organizations will do the advocacy work around the cost of pharmaceuticals, right? Like the cost of HIV medications. You know, by and large, individuals generally aren't spending their money on HIV medications, but as taxpayers, we are spending billions of dollars on medications that is all sort of, you know, direct transfer to pharmaceutical companies. So, you know, they are not doing it out of some sort of sense of altruism. You know, it's really about their bottom line. So like that's sort of what I think about corporate allyship, is that it's really ultimately about their bottom line, and only sort of intermittently about some sort of allyship.
I think my favorite moment in 2022, we had just decided we were going to have our first in-person event after the pandemic. I had the job for maybe 4 weeks, and we were standing up for people to the police and talking about uniformed police officers in the event. We asked the Pride Alliance if they would not be in full uniform, and touched off a firestorm with Mayor Breed. That was my opening relationship with her. We did find a compromise, and when we announced the compromise the day of the flag raising, I left there and I got a phone call from Kaiser Permanente, and they informed us that they were in and they were going to provide $200,000. And at the time, we had $100,000 committed to us. Things looked pretty bleak. Most people would have run. But I remember they said, listen, Suzanne, we, like you, have to hold a lot of different constituencies. We definitely at Kaiser Permanente, and Shyama, a Black woman, a public policy person there, said, we definitely hear you and we want to stand up for Black and brown trans people. But we also have a relationship with first responders. And we wanted you all to find a solution, and we want to support that kind of back and forth, that kind of conversation in our community that finds solutions that work for more than one side. And they have been the #1 supporter of SF Pride. This will be their 5th year, and they will be again this year. And I remember that phone call, never forget it. Just like I didn't feel alone, and that's weird coming from a corporation, because I many years ago was very anti-corporations, but I could tell you, and then I would take it a step further. You know, Hyatt, they have a big party at the Hyatt. Kaiser Permanente does for all their queer employees. They're going to march in the parade, and I'm a Kaiser Permanente member, and I had my facial surgery at Kaiser Permanente, and they invite me to speak every year. And when I walk into that room, you can just tell that there is so much joy. They are so happy that the employees at Kaiser Permanente are so joyful to be in the parade and to be part of our community. And that, to me, is allyship. It goes several different ways.
I would say that my first interaction on like a personal level was being asked by a publicly traded company to give them free stuff for goodie bags for their employees. I responded with what has now become like my form response of like, love that you're trying to treat your employees to little goodie bags, but I'm not going to help you set the precedent for asking your queer community for free shit, because it doesn't feel good. And I know what you guys are trading at, like you have the money. And they were like, oh, no, 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 we would never want to just take things from you. We can pay you. I'm like, but you didn't lead with that. And if I had less, cojones to be like, no, they would have happily taken free stuff from me. So that kind of first introduction was like, all right, I need to set the tone when dealing with these people. It's not just an honor to be included. Like, you have to treat me like somebody that you want to work with, not that you want to take things from for a photo op. So that was my first.
Thank you so much. We've already started to pick a little bit about how, organizations like these are sometimes made up, of course, of lots of people, lots of individuals inside of it. Who inside these organizations was actually fighting to get their companies to contribute to your respective organizations that you are associated with? And does that person's sincerity change anything when you're engaging with someone who's representing a company?
In most cases, I deal with the head of an employee resource group at many of the companies. In some instances, I might be dealing with the public policy director, like at Kaiser Permanente. But for the most part, I'm usually dealing with queer people. And a lot of times, I've had a lot of bad conversations where a queer person had to come and tell me terrible news that they had changed their mind, they weren't supporting us or whatever. But in most cases, it's the employee resource group heads. And then in some cases, especially in beverage companies, I will be dealing with the marketing people.
Okay, I want to remind people just briefly. This presentation took place 1 month ago. What that means is woke is not dead. Every conservative influencer who says that DEI isn't happening in organizations anymore is lying to you. They're directly talking about working with employee resource groups within major organizations. Kaiser Permanente is a huge fuck off organization. Okay. So anyone who's saying like woke is dead, DEI isn't happening anymore, we fixed all that, we're winning, Trump's losing, blah, 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 or not Trump's losing, the left is losing, blah, 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 blah. They're lying. It is still happening. They're talking about it openly.
We have a budget for this, and a lot of times in the beverage industry, and those are probably my least favorite sponsorships. But I will say, it's usually we're dealing with our siblings. We're not dealing with Mr. Target or.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, right? Like, particularly like pharmaceutical companies like Gilead that very intentionally hire from the community. They can pay a lot more than nonprofits.
Pharmaceutical companies.
One of the single best policy and advocacy people in the state of California just left his nonprofit advocacy job to go work for Gilead.
Who's underground? Who the fuck is underground? What on earth makes you think they're underground? They are doing presentations about it on the internet. Presentations on the internet where they are talking explicitly about what they are doing are not underground.
And, I saw the job listing, so I know he's making a lot more than he was. And I'm happy for him for that. And at the same time, they're hiring talent away from community and away from nonprofits. So it's, and at the same time, working for nonprofits and nonprofit wages is, ultimately you get pretty burnt out doing the work. I mean, you can get burnt out no matter how much money you're making, but I think it's easier sometimes when you've got community folks that and that you've built up a relationship with to be able to have the conversations. And often they can give you, better sort of inside intel of, ask for the money for this, not for this, and you're more likely to get it. Or what if you say, this, or they want to hear that you're going to do this with it. And that's useful. It's helpful. It feels like they're being allies in terms of helping us raise more money that's going to the community. But it's, I think you get into these dialogues about selling out and what selling out means, right? And that's both it's a very negative thing, but have I sold out because I'm taking a salary from a nonprofit organization? You can argue that all the way down. So it's helpful to have people on the inside always, but that doesn't necessarily, that doesn't undo capitalism.
Oh, No.
Yeah, when I
Having people on the inside doesn't necessarily undo capitalism. Because this is not about gay rights, guys. I need everyone to understand this, especially the new people. We are not watching a presentation about gay rights. Queer is not about being gay. Queer is not about being trans. Queer is a radical, anti-assimilationist, far-left political ideology that wants to overthrow capitalism, and she just said it. Having people on the inside doesn't overthrow capitalism. It doesn't undo capitalism. That is their goal, is to undo capitalism, and they're saying it out loud very clearly.
was working with Target, every single person that I worked with that worked at Target was a queer person. So when the
Yo,
rug got
old
pulled out
sub,
from that,
W
and
sir,
they
thank
decided,
you.
The higher ups decided, no, we're not going to stand up for
Woman
the
ruined the
queer
microphone.
artists who we've already put out their stuff and are now getting a torrent of hate messages and are getting featured on Fox News and all this stuff. And they were like,
Oh,
"Well,
no,
we're
not
gonna-
that."
We're not going to touch that anymore." I know that all the employees there really felt like hung out to dry also, which made it extra hard because they didn't want to have to give me the bad news. And yeah, it was extra heartbreaking, I think, to know that like it wasn't just my work that was getting stripped. It was a whole entire department that was, being shafted by the new like marketing person who was also like a drag queen, which was weird. Like everybody involved was queer. So I was like, okay, who was making this decision then? Yeah. That was my-
I want to ask some questions to some of you individually. And the first one is for Suzanne. The research I did found that SF Pride runs on about $3.2 million a year. Is that the right number? Or Four.
Yeah.
Even higher. And a significant portion of that has historically come from corporate sponsors, several of whom have now walked away. Can you help the audience understand what that money actually pays for and what the event looks like without it?
Okay. Yeah, about a $4 million budget. About $1 million to run the organization for the whole year, to do the planning, for the staff, for the rent, to keep the lights on. About $3 million for the 2 days. Insurance, security, medical services just for the 2 days is over $1 million. If in the corporate right now, and it's really a complex story about last year, we were up in the press, we did lose some sponsors. It did look bleak in March. We did go live with it and call people in. Some of those sponsors came back. Anheuser-Busch did not, thank God. I hope they never come back. But this year we're at right now $1,930,000 in corporate sponsorship. Our goal was 2.1 million. So about half of our budget is provided by corporate. But then the fourth million comes from all of the event, the beverage sales, the parade contingents, the vendor booths, tickets to different events. I think the number one thing in there to remember is San Francisco Pride is free. We are the last major pride that is free of our size. And we're free in one of the most expensive places in the world. So without corporate funding, you're looking at a parade. And that has, our board has looked at that. It could happen. It's not going to happen this year. But we could decide that the 2-day event, talent now is astronomical because, people used to tour to sell records. So their fee was low because they were going to sell records off the tour. People now release music so that they can make money touring. And when you're a free event, I can't increase ticket sales. I'm not like Midway where you pay a performer $350,000 and you sell $200 tickets. That's it. The model, it makes what we're doing very difficult.
Thank you. This next one's for Laura. You co-founded the SF Dyke March in the early 90s, at a moment when many in the community felt that Pride had already started moving away from its political roots. What were you responding to, and what did you want the Dyke March to be about?
Yeah, so I was, so the 1993 March on Washington, it turned out there were two separate groups of women around the country who were both sort of thinking, we need to do something at the March on Washington that is particularly focused on queer women. So one of those groups was the Lesbian Avengers out of New York City. The other was the ACT UP women's caucuses around the country.
ACT UP.
which is what I was a part of. And we had experience putting together national events, sort of convenings, protests, actions through ACT UP. And so we started using our network of women around the country to put something together, decided to do it the night before the March on Washington. And largely it was a feeling that that pride parades, at the March on Washington, that things were just very focused on gay men. And we wanted to not take away from that, but to add some space for queer women in our celebrations and our protests, like in all of it. And so creating that space for what became known as the Dyke March. And we, it was a huge amount of work, but we decided that it had gone so well in DC that we would bring it back to San Francisco. And it became an event the Saturday night before the Pride Parade. And, certainly at the beginning, it was very much just a march. We started here in the Castro. We walked around the neighborhood, and it was kind of here's space and visibility for queer women in a neighborhood that is not always the friendliest or the most welcoming to queer women. And so that was a lot of what it was about, was just sort of Dyke visibility, Dyke joy, Dyke community, in the midst of all of this. And then part of what happened as the event got larger and larger, the expenses went up and up. And I think that is the history, whether it is Pride, the Dyke March, the Trans March, right? Like once you start getting bigger and bigger and you start getting more and more people, you have to build out the infrastructure. You need a larger sound system. You need to start providing porta potties. You need to start, you like have to get liability insurance on the truck that the DJs are performing on, right? And once you start getting into those spaces, you need money to do that. And so you need to figure out how you're going to raise that money. And so the Dyke March for years operated on, passing buckets and selling t-shirts. We eventually, and my comrade Ingrid is here, started getting local businesses to sponsor the porta potties. That was our big innovation, was sponsoring the porta potties. But you inevitably get to that point, and folks who run the Dyke March now can talk even more about sort of what it costs to do it now and what kind of sort of how that money gets raised. But I think that's like, you can stay with something that's very grassroots and it's just, a group of people walking in the streets, or you can figure out how to raise the money and reach more people and get your message farther. And those are kind of the trade-offs around what are we doing? And once you start looking for more money, you're ending up with, where is the capital? And, if you can't, you can only sell so many t-shirts.
Laura, since you have the mic, do you want to talk about the photos you brought with you?
So when I was asked to do this, I immediately thought of this. So these photos are from Ingrid, who's sitting in the back row there. So in 1993, a group of us learned a lesson the hard way. So it was a lot easier back then to do a sort of guerrilla or rogue group where you just sort of busted into the parade and you didn't, sorry, Suzanne, pay for anything. I won't do it now, I promise. And so this was a group of sort of mostly.
To be fair, there have been people capitalizing on it over the past decade. The point for people who have not been listening is that the queer activists, the ones who want to overthrow capitalism, are not in favor of that and never have been. That is actually the point. That is the point. If you do not understand, because maybe you weren't here the 3 times I've already explained it on the stream, I need you to rewind and I need you to start at the beginning and I need you to go again. So.
We were involved in ACT UP San Francisco, but this was in 93 and there wasn't an ACT UP contingent. We decided to do our own thing. And so we were sort of animated. We were concerned about the extent to which we felt like money and corporate money was taking over Pride and really changing our community events and sort of how things operated. And so we decided we were going to have a rogue contingent and we were going to make a point about the role of money in corporate Pride. And the lesson that we learned was that irony doesn't work in Pride or in the parade. We confused a lot of people. Apologies to anyone who was in the audience of the 93 Pride. I will say, one of the people in these pictures is Gerard Koskovich, who's one of the founding members of the GLBT Historical Society. But yeah, we were like, we're a market, not a movement, ironically, meaning the opposite, of course. And we had, freedom rings were really big then. And so we wrote freedom rings on a big pink cash register.
Exactly, Grillis. Thank you.
And yeah, so the lesson we learned the hard way was we just confused a lot of people, and irony doesn't work, and the parades are very earnest. Contingents in the Pride Parade are very earnest, and they did not understand this. But this, what I really want to say here is that in 1993 we were having this conversation. As Sean said, this has been part of the conversation from the very beginning. And the point that we were
1993 was a couple of years after Queers Read This came out at New York Pride in 1990. And so what they're saying is this was like the whole Dyke March thing. And for people who missed it, like I went undercover at the Dyke March this year in Boston. I did it last year too. It's an extremely far left event. The Dyke March is not about lesbians. The Dyke March is not yay lesbians. That's not what it is. It is an extremely far left event. There were at least 3 different Antifa groups that I saw at the Dyke March in Boston. And so, like, the Dyke Marches are actually even more far left and more radical and more anti-assimilationist than the Pride festivals. They're much, much, much worse.
Trying to make was, we were concerned that corporations were essentially sort of buying the
capitalism
community and the gay community, and we were trying to push back on that and say, look, we can, how do we continue as a movement that is not primarily seen as a market?
Yeah, thank you. And I love that you did that, and I would support you doing that now. I think, and we heard this in 2022. The same argument, but we in 2023, and we don't talk about it enough, but in the first third of the San Francisco Pride Parade, there are 5 corporations. Only 5. Open House, LGBT Center, SF AIDS Foundation, all those nonprofits are in the first third, and only 5 corporations. And we did that so that we would say, listen, we are centering our nonprofits, our queer nonprofits. But it gets lost in the shuffle. You never hear that in the explanation, and too many times, just like now grabbing the mic, I want to explain so badly, but hopefully people are seeing when it's coming down the front. It's not, the days of Facebook buying the parade are over. Facebook gives us 0. Google gives us 0. Apple and Amazon are way in the back with the $45,000 people, and it's not the same villains you think anymore. They're not bankrolling Pride anymore.
Elizabeth, this one's for you. I want to hear more about this story with Target and what exactly happened. Can you walk us through what the whole experience, if people aren't familiar, and maybe what your takeaways were from that total experience on reflection now?
Yeah, so they approached me, I think in 2023 in like January, and the offer was immaculate. It was, we're going to give you basically the Disney rate of royalty on everything that you sell. You're going to have your name, bio, and picture printed on the tag that is on everything that sells, and on their website, they would link to my website, not even to like my page on the Target website, but it would link you to the Peach Fuzz page. They said, go hog wild with the stuff that you make. We don't want to see generic love is love stuff that really is like, oh, a straight person made this, I think. They wanted me to be silly and joyful, and like encouraged me to make, like, one of the designs was like the undecisive bisexual, like just silly, funny things like that, and then a few months into it, I kept asking them, I'm like, this is really happening, right? Like, you're not going to pull the rug out from underneath me. Like, we're moving forwards on this. I think I made 25 plus items. There was going to be home goods and, dog collars for dogs. And I had to clarify. Yeah, you can use it for whatever you want. But then the 2023 collection launched. So that was like the previous class, I would say, because they start this process out a full like 18 months ahead of launch. And that was when the whole, right winger saying, oh, they're selling tucking panties to toddlers and all of this made up bullshit. And Fox News was reporting that they were having bomb threats at stores. And I was talking to the people at Target corporate, and they were like, none of that actually happened. Like, there was one store where they had an issue of like some guy filming himself being like, this is disgusting. But like, it was not a widespread issue. It was just blown totally out of proportion. And Target immediately was like, we're cutting it. We're not doing this anymore. They very quickly stripped it from 25 plus items to 5. They said, if you want your stuff put in Target, it's not going to have your name on it anymore. One of my designs was a mug that said support all your sisters, not just your sisters, like CIS, and they changed it to say support all your sisters. That's it. What that has to do with pride, I could not tell you. But they had already made all of the clothing items. So the whole time I was like, this doesn't even make good business sense, because they still had to pay me out for the stuff that they made. They made over 50,000 units of the clothing. That's how I had so many t-shirts to donate here and stuff. And they were just going to trash all the rest of it. And the whole Target boycott kind of led out of that. So it was just such a surreal and bizarre thing to have happen, because it didn't make any business sense, even from that angle. And I remember I went to a Target store the day that it was supposed to launch and asked like, oh, where's your pride section? First store, they're like, we don't know. I don't even think we have one. But I went to a different store and they were like, oh, it's like shoved in the back of the maternity section or something like that. I found my few items. I purchased them. And I went out to my car and I just sobbed. Like, it finally had hit me as personally a bisexual woman. I've had experiences of not feeling queer enough in queer spaces, and this, I know that the validation and the belonging does not come from a corporation ever, but it was like, oh, everybody who's always made me feel this way is going to walk into Target and see my stuff on the like my face on the pride stuff. That's going to feel so cool. And it felt like I had been recloseted by them, by having my name taken off of it. And it's a good story to tell. I wish that there was more out of it. But yeah, it was just really upsetting. I think everybody that I worked with on the Target team no longer works there, because they were all really disgusted by it. And there's so many people, like not just the artists, but so many people at the agency that connected Target and me, at Target, at every part of the way, that had been working for months and months and just had it all taken away. It was really surreal. So yeah.
If Target came back and said,
fuck no. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
Has it changed your attitude in general collaborating with any kind of entities like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really worth my time now. I have learned, what the royalty rates that are expected are, and now it's really put the fire under my own butt to do collaborations with like my queer peers, where I can offer them 20-25% royalties on the stuff that we make together. Actually, this hair claw was, it says Queer Joy on its little cake, and it was designed by a queer painter who does fine art, but she doesn't, that is a little bit harder to make money on than selling stickers, which is like my bread and butter. And so I said, oh, let's work together. I have the fulfillment, I have the warehouse, I can get this stuff sold out, and we can get you some extra money off of your designs without you having to do all the heavy lifting. And so that has been kind of where I've shifted my focus to now, of doing what Target failed to do for me, doing it for real with other artists and businesses.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
So what they're doing, for people who aren't paying attention, what they're doing is they are using capitalism to uplift themselves. Just because the left wants to overthrow capitalism doesn't mean they don't use capitalism. It would be retarded for them not to. In fact, it even says in the Communist Manifesto, basically, use the tools you have to overthrow the system. Basically what it's saying is the Communist Manifesto does not forbid the far left from engaging in capitalism. It says we need to survive. You need to survive within a capitalist system. You need to put a roof over your head. You need to put food in your fridge. You can't opt out of the capitalist system until we overthrow it. So use capitalism to overthrow capitalism, use the system to overthrow the system. They're being smart about it. Every single time some conservative is like, they say they want to overthrow capitalism, but they have a MacBook. They say they want to overthrow capitalism, but they have an iPhone. It's so fucking stupid. They live in a capitalist world. They know that. They are using the tools of capitalism to overthrow the system and create the world they want.
I want to shift back to the whole panel. So the Harvey Milk LGBTQ Democratic Club called on SF Pride recently to ban companies that dropped their DEI initiatives from the parade. SF Pride cut ties with Meta, as you mentioned, and some others, it sounds like. But the line isn't always so clear. I'm curious, for each of your respective organizations, where is the line on when a corporation does X, Y, or Z, no longer will I participate or let them participate in my organization?
We have certain types of corporations that no oil companies, no defense companies, no tobacco companies, no Adolf Coors companies. That's written into our bylaws. It's a case-by-case thing. Our board, I mean, I was on the board for 4.5 years before I became executive director. And I remember it was about Google and YouTube. You know, they owned YouTube. And there was a person on YouTube who was being terrible right-wing person, persecuting a non-binary reporter. I wish I could remember the names, but we came under immense pressure from the community over it. And I remember trying to sort through it. I was the treasurer at the time. So, you know that I was worried about funding the event. Sometimes we're moved by the community, and sometimes we say, no. I think, first of all, we're not, we're a 4-person staff right now with a couple of contractors, $4 million. I can't tell you that Corporation A, everything they do is good. I don't have the staff. So it's really, if the community comes to us and really puts the pressure on us, sometimes we will respond. But in my estimation, all money is bad. All corporations are bad in some way. They're built to extract labor. It's very difficult for San Francisco Pride to be the focal point. Like Amazon, for example, I come under a lot of pressure about Amazon, and I always want to say, how many people got a package from Amazon this week? If you're one of the people telling me to cut ties with Amazon and you yourself are not doing that, and some people are, and my hat's off to them, I'm not that disappointed. I admit I get some stuff from Amazon. But if you're one of the people that is paying money to Amazon, and then you're sitting in front of me telling me not to take money from Amazon and give it to queer people, I'm going to respect you saying that, but I'm going to make a different decision.
I canceled my Amazon Prime, but I use my boyfriend's, so I'm part of the problem.
You're almost there. You're almost there.
Yeah, it's true. My housemate still has Amazon Prime. I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's the sort of truism about there's no ethical consumption.
Hey, Dragontail, thanks so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it, bro. So conservative grifters are willing to abandon any principle for a buck, but the far leftists change course to maintain their core principles above a buck for the collective in the abolition of capitalism. Yep. Pretty much, bro. Pretty much. Thanks so much for the super chat. Guys, we have about 22 minutes until our big surprise. And so we're going to be watching this for another 22 minutes. I do want to remind people that that it would really help me out if we could get some more channel memberships. This helps fund the work I'm doing. The surprises that are going to happen in 20 minutes can't happen if my work isn't funded. Looking into presentations like this so we can hear these people talk about what they're thinking and doing and how they're strategizing and how they're organizing in basically real time. This doesn't happen if my work isn't funded. So if you appreciate what I'm doing, exposing this stuff about the left, breaking it down, trying to teach you guys what is actually going on beyond the narrative, I would appreciate it if we could make some progress towards our channel membership goal. Accenting with 5 W's, good sir. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted channel memberships. Really, really, really appreciate it. Almost to our halfway point. Thanks so much, guys. Let's keep going.
Under capitalism.
Capitalism!
Right?
Rewind that a little bit. Capitalism mentioned.
Yeah, it's true. My housemate still has Amazon Prime. I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's the sort of truism about there's no ethical consumption under capitalism is real, right? And it's that, and that's where the money is as well. And so I know that I'm not here representing the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, certainly, but like the SFAF has developed a whole policy around donations and sort of who we take money from and who we don't. And I think that that has become increasingly important to have a really thoughtful and nuanced policy around like, who do you take money from? Who don't you take money from? What are the lines that we won't cross because we believe that they are that they are actively harming the community, and we don't want to be, sort of, pinkwashing, right? Like we don't want to be giving them cover as somehow, helping the community when we actually know how much they are harming the community. But again, those things like
did I miss one?
Who is part of that community?
Matt,
right?
I apologize, bro. I totally missed it. W's to you, good sir. Thank you so much for the gifted channel memberships. My apologies for not seeing it right away. Thank you. Halfway, guys. Thank you so much. 10 more people donate 5 channel memberships, and we already got the goal. How cool is that?
There are, corporations that are profiting off of, the sort of internment camps that we're running for people with
internment
unsatisfactory
camps.
Immigration status, right? These ICE facilities, and they're corporations that are making money off of that. And corporations that are making money off of sort of police surveillance, and like once you start going down those roads, like where do you draw the line? And where I draw the line with my personal money may be different from where my employer draws the line with the money that they need to raise to continue providing services to the community. So yeah, I think it's challenging. It's difficult to know where to do that. And it's a lot easier for me to say, I am going to not do this with my personal money. And honestly, it's the same thing with the government right now, right? And government money, right? It is increasingly coming with strings attached, really harmful, damaging strings attached. The San Francisco AIDS Foundation, along with the GLBT Historical Society last year, and a number of other organizations sued the Trump administration. I'm really proud to be affiliated with 2 of the organizations that are part of that, suing the Trump administration over the executive orders on gender ideology and DEI. And those are part of the same, executive orders that led corporations to back away from DEI efforts and back away from supporting our communities. It's all sort of part of the same thing. And, like we're not willing to take federal grants that say you can't serve trans people, right? Because that's a core part of what we do as a nonprofit. So I think it has all gotten far more complicated in the last under this Trump administration, certainly. And it's yeah, and part of the point of this panel, right? The folks who are our friends aren't our friends, right?
I would say this probably applies less to me since I'm a consumer-based business, but there have been, other companies that I've decided to cut ties with over things like stealing from fellow artists or using AI. And I think I've taken like a 2-prong approach of like making it explicitly clear to them why I will not be taking their money, and also having kind of a reputation for like, if you cross us, I'm going to make a video about it, and it's going to go out to my followers and stuff. Like, I will not hold back. I fear no NDA, much to the chagrin of my lawyer. But yeah, kind of. And I've also, the other prong is like, making my stances very outspoken. Like my business is very proudly socialist, pro-Palestine, and that kind of.
You don't say! My position is very socialist and pro-Palestine. You don't say. Are you telling me this is about socialism, not about gay rights? Wow. W. Cynthia! The queen, the Emerald Queen. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted channel memberships, Cynthia. Everyone put an emerald square in the chat for our queen, Cynthia. We appreciate her. We love her.
Own sorting for me because people who are afraid of that aren't coming to me to try to work together. So it works out.
One aspect of what taking money from corporations can do, and sometimes has been accused of happening, is that it might force an organization's behavior to change a little bit. In the case of Pride, maybe focusing more on palatable depictions of queer people, centering on more white cis male narratives and whatnot. Do we think that the taking money from the corporations has changed any of the messaging for your respective organizations, or perhaps in Elizabeth's case?
Did I miss
you feel
Casmar
free
too?
to-
Casmar, I apologize. I missed Casmar too. Oh God, I suck today. Casmar, W, my dear. W, love you, appreciate you. Thank you so much for the gifted channel memberships.
do things differently because you're not catering to corporate interests?
I feel an obligation to go like further in the opposite direction, especially because now I've gone through the situation of having a corporation try to utilize like my queer joy, my queer identity to have designs that make them look like an ally when they have no interest in being a true ally.
Thank you, Casmar. I love you too. Thank
that.
you.
Can you repeat the question?
Amber Professional.
Sorry.
Yeah, because you're not taking corporate money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Going in the opposite direction. Sorry. Yeah. It's just like it's made me stick my heels in more and be like, oh, I'm not going to let them utilize our identity to pinkwash and to look cool and stuff.
Washing
going in the opposite
capitalism
direction is,
with
like, what
gay
motivated me to do
stuff.
that.
Yeah, I love this question. San Francisco Pride is not the white gay male organization it was. It just isn't. The board is over half trans, over half people of color. There's one white gay male on the staff. We have.
Well, I mean, Maddox says if conservatives, hang on, I'm gonna get this sec. Kristen, W's Kristen. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted channel memberships, guys. We have 6 more people giving 5 channel memberships, and we hit our goal. Check that out. 70% of the way there. The surprise is going to be starting in 14 minutes. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome surprise. I have a question. If conservatives were smart, would they be more effective to not only boycott spastically, but create an economy that caters to people that is sustainable? Well, I'm old enough to remember back in 2020 when conservatives were like, we need to create a parallel economy. And then nothing really ever happened with that. Does everyone remember this? Does everyone remember the big push for we need to create a parallel economy because conservatives are getting canceled for supporting Trump? And it's so important we create a parallel economy. And then they never did anything. Like the Daily Wire made a movie. The movie wasn't actually that bad, but only people on the Daily Wire could watch it. And there was like what was the conservative public like shop site, like Public Square or something like that? Which, by the way, would never list my merchandise store for some reason. That they would never list. Public Square would never list. I tried like 3 times to get them to list my merchandise store and they wouldn't do it. And I never got an answer about why. But the reality is that the left has already created a parallel economy. The left has a parallel economy. The right could just copy what the left is doing and be significantly better off than they are already, but they won't do it because they're lazy. Oh yeah, Parlor. Yeah, Parlor. Yeah. Fishing. W's to you. Thank you for the channel membership, bro. Really appreciate it.
Have a relationship with Folsom Street that I don't think SF Pride ever had. We share a space together as a street fair coalition with them and the Castro Street Fair. Angel and the folks at Folsom, we have an adult area inside SF Pride. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but there is a pee pool inside SF Pride. I don't give a damn what corporation gives us money. It has nothing to do with what we say. We released a statement about
a pee pool, guys.
Well before most
pee
folks in this city.
At SF Pride.
I talked to other nonprofit executive directors. They did, most of them wanted nothing to do with that yet. We called for a ceasefire. We called it what it is. We called it a genocide in our statement. I did in that whole thing, and God, to be at Pride and to get death threats on both sides of the Palestinian issue is insane. I think the conservative Jew death threats were really, really better than the others. They were really distinct about what they wanted to do to us.
Wow. Conservative Jews, you say?
One of our leading sponsors called
Bagels
me
mentioned.
in the middle of that, and they said, Suzanne,
how anti-Semitic?
Before you make any more statements, could you run it by us before you say it? And I said, absolutely not. And I can tell you, it was north of $125,000. And I said, that will never happen at SF Pride. And I'm so proud of that. And I think it's we get a bad rap there because that's not who the fuck we are. And we really, 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 really take to heart what we're supposed to mean.
These are smart enough to know where their market is. And as
Why
the
did that
demographics
skip?
of HIV have changed, they have changed what their marketing looks like. So for whatever reason, I get a bunch of, I watch RuPaul's Drag Race. I get a bunch of like ads for Gilead, medications for
1
PrEP,
month
et
ago,
cetera.
Matt.
And they have really, they are very intentionally showing a range of demographics in those ads because that is where HIV is going, right? That is where HIV is. So there are cis gay guys in the ads, but that is not the only people that are in the ads. And I think, so they are sort of like following their market into these other demographics. And so they're making the representations and what they are looking for and what they are funding as well, following that. So it's not, it's not out of some sort of like, it's not a DEI initiative when Gilead chose a trans woman in their ad for PrEP, right? It's a marketing decision.
Interesting. Elizabeth, I had another question for you that I thought about when with the Peach Fuzz, because it's small and independent. Were there trade-offs that you have thought about? Laura talked about how one of the trade-offs of taking corporate money is it allows you to scale, reach more people, do more good by reaching more people and being able to market and whatnot. Have you thought about whether or not your model limits your impact, or has that not been as much of a focus?
I've been extremely fortunate that at the time when even Target was approaching me, we were already doing $500,000 in sales a year. And then the following year, we did $1 million in sales and have kept that up every year, which is extremely unusual for an independent artist business. So I think that's really why I have dug my heels in, been outspoken about like, you're not gonna fucking treat me that way. And I'm gonna make sure everybody knows that they can't be treated that way either. Because there was a time where I was a, super small, we were barely doing $10,000 in sales a year, where I would have been like, yes, absolutely, you can do whatever you want to me. And I'll take, like, absolutely, I just want to be included. And I don't have to do that now. So it gives me a lot more room to demand better and to advocate that other people demand more for themselves. And it's why I can say, no, I don't need your business, Target. Thank you very much. I'm going to go work with other small artists because we do have this like booming structure set up that I have that opportunity. And I think it's a tremendous privilege that I need to use for good. So
I wanted to kind of move us a little bit towards kind of a final question here, and then we can open it up to the room. I'm sure there's lots of other questions. And I wanted to kind of close out by thinking about the kind of journey that a lot of this corporate allyship has gone on. Events like Pride started with only 20 people going down Polk Street, and now $4 million to run. And now, as we're seeing some of this retreats from some sponsors, what is kind of your overall sentiment about the future right now? Is it going to get better without this money involved, or do we need to find a way to recover it or its version of support?
I've been in this realm a lot less time than everybody else, so maybe this is naive, but I don't believe that our liberation will come at the hands of corporations. It never has, and I don't see why it suddenly would.
Capitalism.
So I think that they can maybe continue to retreat, and there's the natural ebbs and flows of political discourse and stuff, but like, we're not going anywhere. Queer people aren't going anywhere. Trans people aren't going anywhere. And while it's nice to have their money, I don't see it being the missing piece that we've ever needed to incite change. So I have little morsels of hope that I hold on to, and knowing everything that people have achieved pre-corporate sponsorship has really like fueled that fire to keep going.
Yeah, queer liberation includes liberation from capitalism, right? Like true queer liberation.
What was that? What was that? What was that? What was that, old queer dyke lady socialist? Queer liberation includes liberation from capitalism, because that is what they're talking about. It is not about gay rights, guys. It is about capitalism. It is about overthrowing capitalism. These are anti-assimilationists. Queers are anti-assimilationists. That means not assimilating to what they call capitalist normativity. They don't believe that capitalism is just an economic system. It's also a cultural model. The cultural model that upholds capitalism is called normativity. Again, madam.
Corporate sponsorship has really like fueled that fire to keep going.
Yeah, queer liberation includes liberation from capitalism, right? Like true queer liberation happens in the absence of capitalism. And at the same time, that is where we live now.
She even said true queer liberation happens in the absence of capitalism. Queer liberation cannot occur until capitalism is abolished. The abolition of capitalism is queer liberation, because queer is not about being gay, queer is not about being trans. Queer is an anti-capitalist, anti-assimilationist, far left political ideology. You can be a straight white man and be queer if you are a non-binary anti-capitalist. That is reality, guys. You have got to learn to separate the normie gay rights movement from the radical queer liberationists, because they are not the same thing in any way. One more time.
Liberation from capitalism, right? Like true queer liberation happens in the absence of capitalism. And at the same time, that is where we live now. In a capitalist system, I won't be able to give you the Ursula Le Guin quote off the top of my head, but you can look it up about how, we all think capitalism is inevitable now, but at one point the rule of kings, right? Like the monarchy was also seen as inevitable and ordained by God. And I have completely mangled it. And my apologies to the ghost of Ursula Le Guin. And please look it up. And I will also say, every single HIV organization in this city, the roots of every organization is in a group of friends coming together and saying, we need to do something. That is how every single organization, around the world essentially started, was a group of friends saying, we need to take care of each other. We need to take care of our community. No one else.
The collective.
That's how we all stepped up. That is how all of the DNA, the roots of our HIV organizations in the city, our group of friends, a community coming together, saying the government is not going to come save us, corporations are not going to come save us, we have to do it ourselves. It is because of the work that we all did that we now have money coming from corporations, that we now have government funding, that we now have a lot of public healthcare options for people with HIV. We have publicly funded PrEP and HIV prevention, but we were here first and we will be here afterwards. And it's the same thing. Like, we can do this. We know how to do this. It's part of what we have always done. I would rather have enough resources and enough money and sort of abundance to take care of everyone. But if that, it is not worth the harms to our community that come from some of these corporations and some of these government policies to take their money.
And guys, just in case that wasn't clear, the government is a manifestation of capitalism. Capitalism is not just about the corporations. These people also believe the United States government is capitalism. That's why when they say overthrow capitalism, they mean overthrow the government. That is literally what they're talking about. Okay. We're going to have to save the rest of this for another day, because the surprise is about to start. Does anyone have any guesses about what the surprise is? Does anyone want to guess what the surprise is? Does anyone want to guess what the surprise is? Does anyone know? Does anyone think they know? Oh, Reagan is so smart! Reagan figured out the surprise. Guys, do you remember last week when we got communists to cancel their online training because they found out I was recording it in the middle of it? Do you remember when that happened? And they were very, very concerned about me recording their online training, and they were so concerned about me recording it that they literally canceled the entire training in the middle of the training because they didn't want me to. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember that? Well, they're about to hold exactly the same training that they were last week, and we're going to watch it live on the internet. And I'm not doing it behind a paywall this time. I'm not doing it behind a paywall. Do you guys know what would really piss off the communists we're about to secretly record? How about we hit the channel membership goal? Can we hit the channel membership goal? That would really piss them off. These people hate it when I make money off of secretly recording them, and we're going to give them another chance, and we're going to see, are they going to find out? Are they going to give us the whole recording this time? Are they going to find out and cancel partway through? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I'm just like waiting to join their training. I'm going to give it a couple extra minutes. What's going to happen to their training? Is it going to go off as planned? Cynthia in with a dub. 5 channel memberships. Thank you so much, Cynthia. We're just going to see. I didn't announce it as a spy stream. I'm not promoting it as a spy stream. We got Duchess in there. Thank you, Duchess. W's to you, my dear. Thank you so much for the gifted channel membership. We're giving him a minute here. We're giving him a minute. We're giving him a minute. Will they figure out who I am this time? Which of my multiple secret identities am I using this time to infiltrate their training? How will they ever figure it out? Will they? Or will they just cancel the entire thing again? Or will they not find out and this time we get the entire fucking training? Yeah, Reagan, I knew Reagan would figure it out too. I knew Reagan would figure it out. I knew Reagan would figure it out. I fucking knew it. I knew it was going to happen.
Everybody, I am Zai Smith. I am here with Corey Bleakley today, and we are going to be hosting your de-escalation and safety training for Voices of Florida Fund. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. It is 7 o'clock. We're going to wait just a little bit to give people a little time to filter into the room in case they're running late. Also, I want to warn you, if you're looking at your screen and you're saying, why is my email watermarked across this? Don't worry, nobody else can see that, only you. It is just a safety precaution. We've had some people come in and live stream our trainings, which we prohibit.
Good one!
So this is a precaution that keeps them from doing that, but don't worry, nobody else can see your
Let's
email,
just listen.
so you're totally safe.
Good
Totally
one.
secure.
Good
Again, thank you so much for
one.
being here, and we'll give it like maybe a couple 2 minutes left-ish, and then we'll get started. We just want to let people have a chance.
Hang on. One sec. One sec. We might just have to do this audio only. They figured some shit out. They figured some shit out. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. But guess what? I still got him. I think I still got him. Hang on. Hang on one sec. That was a new one. I gotta give him credit for that one. That was a new one. That was a new one for me. Haven't seen that one before. Got him. Got him. I got him. I think I got him. Why isn't this working the way I want it to? Not that. That's odd. That's odd. Hang on. Hang on. All is not lost, guys. Give me one sec. All is not lost.
Sure that you have all the knowledge and information that you might need and questions answered about how to safely host events, or I'm so sorry, my dog just jumped up here. How to safely hold events, protests, and rallies wherever you are located, whether it's a big city or a small rural neighborhood. So in short, my name is Zai. I have been in the industry in activism spaces for over 25 years. Please do not ask me my age. And I have been arrested 3 times in protests. So I have been on both sides of both your spicier protests and your really chill, calm ones. We always aim for chill and calm, but that's not always what you get. And that is why we are here today, to talk to you all and teach you all how to keep it as calm as possible. And I'm going to pass it over real quick to Corey so they can introduce themselves. We both use they, them pronouns. Thank you. Here's
Hi,
Corey.
everybody. My name is Corey. I am the organizing director for Voices of Florida and Voices of Florida Fund. I got started in activism about 4 years ago after the overturning of Roe, and I have been volunteering with various orgs ever since. I have gotten involved with clinic escorting and different things to really flex those muscles, I suppose.
All right, onward and upward. Let's go. Let's get into our basics here. Okay, so you're organizing a rally or a protest or other event, right? The first thing you need to know about is teams. Now, I want to be clear when we're talking about teams, there are 2 things to know right out the gate. First of all these teams are one team. And I cannot stress that enough. It's really important that y'all understand that all of these teams are going to work in conjunction. What that means is that while they are independent teams, and you're going to want independent chats and or Zoom meetings, depending on what you use. I always like to use Signal, but everybody has a preference, and that is okay. While you want to have individual spaces for each of these teams that I'm about to get into, you also want to make sure that these teams have one group chat where they all come together and share information. That is because while all of the ins and outs of each one of these groups is going to be very important, and you don't want to clog up that main space, all of these teams are going to have to come together and have a wider conversation and be in communication. So please always make sure the first thing you create is a huge conglomerate chat that involves everybody that is in your planning team. Then you want to break down into individual spaces, and I'm going to get into them now. The first is medics. What's a medic? Most of y'all know they are folks that are there in case anybody gets ill or gets hurt. A lot of people are really intimidated by this role. They, I think, have these kind of horror shows in their head that it's going to be some sort of high intensity role. I want to make sure y'all understand most of the time a medic is going to be doing things like handing out water bottles to people when they overheat, maybe handing out some Band-Aids or an ice pack. 9 out of 10 times your medic is going to have a pretty simple role for the day. They are there to make sure that people that aren't feeling very well or maybe fall down and get a scratch are okay. We at Voices are incredibly lucky. We have some wonderful nurses on our teams. I always recommend to new organizers, reach out to local nurses. First and foremost, most nurses are on your side. I cannot say this enough. Science is on our side. That means most nurses are on our side. It's not going to be all of them, but we have a lot of nurses on this side. So please know that they are a great resource and feel comfortable reaching out to them. With that said, though, if you don't have nurses at your disposal, that is okay. Most of the time, you're not going to need to be doing really intense things. I always recommend trying to have things like maybe first aid or CPR training and stop the bleed. All of those courses are offered at almost all hospitals free of cost. So if you look into them, you can learn them in one training, and then you are solid for all of your rallies or your marches. And they are very, very basic things. It's a great thing to have a refresher in, and I think every person could use it anyway. So I highly recommend that you attend. With that said, please make sure that you have medics on your team. They are irreplaceable. They are not there for major incidences, because I always remind people of this, and I'm going to remind you all again. If there is ever a major medical emergency, you are going to call EMS. This is not the job of a medic. A medic is not there to save somebody in a life-threatening situation. Medics are there for small things. If there's ever, and we hope there never is, but if there is ever a life-threatening emergency or something more serious even, we are calling EMS. Now, your next group is going to be legal observers and or witnesses. For those of you who don't know what this is, please understand they are wildly important and extremely overlooked in these spaces. Legal observers and witnesses, they're not very different, except for the fact that legal observers are trained. If you can get a legal observer, get a legal observer. They're often people that you can reach out to organizations like ACLU and see if you can get a legal observer to come to your event if it's a larger event. Now, if you have a smaller event or they're just not available, that's okay. You can have witnesses. A witness is basically a stand-in for a legal observer, and they do basically the same job. Now, the role of a witness or a legal observer is to show up at an event and not participate. And let me say that again, not participate. That is the most important role that they play. Because if a legal observer or witness were to show up and hold a sign or start chanting with the group, they are considered biased. We don't want a biased witness because that does not help us, right? The real role of a legal observer or a witness is to show up and not participate and instead record. They will use a device like a phone or a camera, and they will record any conflicts or interactions that occur during the day, so that if there is any legal recourse that can happen afterwards, say somebody accidentally bumps into somebody and they decide to call it assault, because these things do sometimes happen in fired up situations, we will be able to point to our witness or a legal observer and say, they know what happened, they were not participating, and they have it on camera. That is wildly helpful in legal situations, and that's why it's really important to keep some around. Now, next we have our research team. If you don't have a research team, please get one. It is not as scary as it sounds. You do not have to work like the FBI out here. Generally, you're going to be looking for things that are easily accessible on the internet. Now, I am not a researcher. This is not a role I play because the internet hates me. I insist that I do not hate technology. Technology hates me. And I stand by that. And if you're like me, this is probably not the role for you. But Corey, for example, is on our research team and is phenomenal at it. So please understand, it is great for some people. It is also a great role for people that maybe are
Oh, they got me. They got me. They got me. They removed me. They got me. They got me. They got me. We got. They got me. They got me. They got. I wonder how many people they had to remove before they got to me. I wonder how many people they had to remove on their end before they got to me. I wonder how that worked out for them. I wonder how that worked out for them. Oh, man. Well, I tried. 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 I wonder if. I wonder if. I wonder if. Will it let me? Will it let me? No. Once they remove you from the meeting, you can't join from another Zoom account, sadly. Well, you know what? We got them. We tried. We tried. We did our best. You know, this was actually a good educational experience for me, though, because I had no idea they could do that. So I actually don't really care if I'm being honest about it. Hey, Voices of Florida Fund, we're going to get you in a new way next time. Don't you worry. We're going to figure this shit out. Don't you worry, Voices of Florida Fund. We're going to figure this shit out. You know what we're going to do next time, Voices of Florida Fund? You know what we're going to do next time? We're not going to stream it live on the internet. We're going to stream it live into my supporter Discord. You know what we're going to do next time, Voices of Florida Fund? We're not going to stream it live to the internet. We're just going to sign up under whatever account I want to create, and we are going to stream it to a place that you do not have access to. And we are going to record your asses, and we are going to record the whole fucking presentation next time. We are going to do the entire thing next time. I actually don't even care that we didn't get their whole presentation. I was just doing this mostly to annoy them at this point. But I have to, listen, you have to give credit where credit is due. Those fuckers figured out something I hadn't seen before. I haven't seen that little trick of putting the email address on the screen. So that was something that I had no idea how to contend with on the fly. Kristen, the hero we needed. Hey, I still made Voices of Florida Fund. Do you know I probably just made more money than you guys did on this one single stream from community donations? Fascist fund beating the communists. That was fun, though. That was fun. And you know what? The thing of it is like, it gives us new information. It gives us new information about what they're doing. It gives us new information that we're going to be able to integrate in to use against them. W. Grillis, thank you so much for the gifted channel memberships. Thank you, bro. Another fucking hero. So now that we know that Voices of Florida Fund is going to do that little tactic, all we need to do the next time they do this training, because this is not going to be the last time, or the next time they do any training, that all we need to do is sign up under an account that they don't know what it is, and it takes about 3.5 seconds to create a burner account on the internet. It's really not that hard. I just created that account that I signed up to, that had the email on the screen. There's nothing else associated with that account. So like, that account is burned. I'll create another fucking one tomorrow. I'll create another one the next day. I'll create another one the day after that. It doesn't really matter. All we need to do is stream it into a place where they don't have access to, not a spy stream, not live on the internet just to annoy them. And then we just record the whole thing, and they have no way to know whether or not I'm doing it. They have literally no way to know whether or not I'm doing it until after I've already done it. And so that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. That wasn't a VPN issue. That was not a VPN issue at all. That was an issue of how they set up the Zoom webinar. They identified the specific account that was within that was related to the link that I had to click to get into the webinar. Had nothing to do with a VPN, guys. You don't know more about this than I do, I promise you. But I've never seen a place to do that before. I've never seen a place to do that before. And it is a very simple fix to just do this in a different way. And Voices of Florida Fund, they might think, well, we can sign up as a supporter and get into her supporter Discord. Well, you might be able to manage that, except that, do you know I have other secret Discords that you don't know about, Voices of Florida Fund, that you can't get into unless I specifically give you the link? It doesn't even need to be the supporter Discord. It could be any of the other Discords that literally you cannot enter unless you get the link directly from me. There are other Discords that are not the supporter Discord that anyone can get access to by signing up as a supporter. There are other places, Voices of Florida Fund, and I can simply give the dedicated members of my community the link to those Discords, and we can go watch it in there. And it's really not that big of a deal. But I have to just thank them for this. This was a good piece of information that they gave me. I didn't know Zoom had that feature. And now I do know Zoom has that feature. And now I know that I just have to go around and get it in another way. So your L is coming, Voices of Florida Fund. I already put the training I recorded last week entirely on the internet. They've just made it more fun for us. They've just made it more fun for us. I fucking love this shit. Do you guys love this shit? First leftist group that has ever fucking outsmarted us? You think I'm gonna let that go? We'll get you next time, Voices of Florida Fund. I have like 15 more burner accounts that you don't fucking know about. We're gonna get you next time. Guys, do you want to go back and watch the rest of that? You guys want to go back and watch the rest of the other thing? Let's watch the rest of the other thing. Might as well. Here we go. Q&A. How cool is this? We get to watch the rest of this now.
I'm planning on cashing as many of their checks and giving them
Thanks for reaching
queer
the channel
people
goal, guys.
on
I
the Pride
appreciate it.
weekend as I can. San Francisco Pride gave away $140,000 in grants to nonprofits.
See, Voices of Florida Fund thought that they ruined my plans for the night, but I'm like, we have this other thing that we can just finish watching anyway, and you actually just made this about 10 times more fun for me than it was before. Yeah, they learned. They learned. We'll give them some credit. They learned. Next time will be a different story. That's all right.
That's in this city, queer nonprofits.
I'm in no
small
hurry.
Queer nonprofits that
I got the rest of my
not
life
like
to do this
ours, but,
shit.
People that $10,000 means everything, and we're going to do.
Yeah, it
we're
was
gonna
the
give away
same class.
$200,000
It was
this
it
year.
was the same thing. Yeah,
I would
exactly.
love to live in a city where the city, like West Hollywood,
like
for
I
example.
said, that wasn't even an information gathering thing for me. We already have the recording from last week. We know what they say in that class. That wasn't even about information gathering. That was about me giving them the finger and wanting to annoy them. And I did that. And now we have more information than we had before. And that's cool.
Said that Pride means so much to us. We would like to fund it as a city because it means so much to us. I've been arguing that for 5 years, and if I have this job, I'd be arguing it for 5 more. So far, they are unwilling. So I think we're going to protect the 1 million people up and down Market Street, the 300,000 people in a civic center.
Yep.
I'm going to make
Another
sure that
W
they're
for me.
safe.
It's always a
that they are
W,
here
man.
for the weekend
It's
and
always
they
a
get
W.
home.
It's always
And
a
right
W
now,
when we
in
meet the
our
channel
model to
goal.
keep it free,
Always a W
I
when we
have to
piss
cash their
off
check.
leftists.
But I think
Always
we
a
need to
W.
always
Always
say,
a
just
dub.
because we cash your check doesn't mean we're co-signing to all your bullshit. We're not. And finally, also, I would
Was kind of
say
a backfire.
almost
Yeah.
all those people, you talked about Gilead a lot. I can tell you, I had lunch with Jane Stafford a couple of weeks ago, and that woman, that relationship we have with her trying to find ways to make sure that we all have pride, that is genuine.
Guys, I'm fairly certain. I think they have at least 10 people watching us right now, or they had at least 10 people watching my stream. And the reason I say that is the number of the stream dropped precipitously for no good reason. Isn't that funny? I'm in their heads. I'm in their heads. They're thinking about me constantly. They're sending people to watch my stream. I wonder if they had to sit through the entire 2 hours of the stream before that. Can you imagine how many people there are in the chat that are just seething every single time people donate channel memberships or super chats? Can you imagine how much, it was not 30, how much they are seething? Can you imagine how much they are fucking seething that we reached the channel membership goal because of their little stunt? Bruh. They must really have something in that presentation they don't want people to have.
That is not from their marketing company. Gilead increased their sponsorship. They are sponsoring the broadcast, which is a net of $50,000 more to Pride. And they are going to match up to $50,000 at the June 10th Castro event, where we're going to have a fundraiser. And I just am not going to walk away with from people like Jane Stafford and that relationship and that investment in Pride. But I'm real willing. If you want to come to a board meeting and tell me where we're going wrong, we'll listen to you. We'll
So
engage with
real
you,
and
and we'll
true.
think about changing. But I don't see a different model yet.
So real, so true.
Thank you so much, all of you, for your time and participating in this panel. A lot of great insight. Thank you. So we'll open this up now to the room to ask questions. Lee's got a microphone that they can bring by.
Hi, thank you all so much. It's been fascinating and informative. I think my question is mostly for Suzanne and Laura. You both talked about how there are some corporations your organizations will take money from and some that you won't. Can you, without naming names or with naming names if you want to, talk about a difficult decision that you had to make, a decision where you were on the fence, and the question of are we going to take their money or are they not was not clear cut.
For me, Starbucks, difficult because we've had labor come and ask us not to accept Starbucks money. And I grew up, my stepfather and father were both, I grew up in a union household. We took their money last year. At the time, we were in no position to make that call, and it's kind of great, really. But we didn't have a relationship with them like the people I just talked about, and they stepped away this year, and I was really pleased. And they offered us some free pastries.
What
and
is the
coffee.
movie tonight,
Abby, are we
guys?
gonna
Can
take
someone
that?
remind me what Backbeat's watching? Is it The Greatest
Oh, I
Story
love
Never
that.
Told
I
again?
love that. We're gonna take Phil's, okay?
Or Ever Told? Not Never Told, Ever Told?
Yeah, I don't have any particular ones that I can name or not name. And I think
Hey, it's your birthday?
I'm
Happy birthday, bro. I'm so glad you get to spend your birthday with us. That's awesome. Everyone do happy birthday in the chat, please. Yeah, so Mac B in the Discord tonight is watching The Greatest Story Ever Told Part 2 if you guys want to join him at 9 p.m.
not a decision maker.
You can
around,
find
like,
the link in the
which
post tab for new members.
contributions we take at my employer, but making sure that it is something where we don't feel like we're being used by a corporation that is actively harming our community is kind of where that line is, part of where that line is drawn. Yeah, but a good question.
Hello. Oh, I'm not great with mics. So I did want to ask about Pride. So I did grow up in West Hollywood. Well, I grew up in LA, and my first Prides were West Hollywood. And I will say it made a huge difference because it felt like the community just showing up for the community. And it took away kind of like the corporate aspect. And moving to San Francisco, it felt very different. And it was interesting seeing Bank of America and Chase and Wells Fargo and Kaiser and a number of others celebrating us. And that's nice, but I liked us celebrating us. So I guess when I'm looking at Pride here, I know it's difficult, like the money and the expense. Why avoid charging entrance fee? If that's why not have us pay if it gets corporates out of there? If we kind of all agree it's not, we don't like it. So
I love you. I love you. My board, we asked. There's a board member sitting here, Jupiter's a board member at SF Pride. She's the treasurer, so she's really interested in my answer. You would not want to be the executive director of San Francisco Pride and announce that you are charging now, that we are changing the fabric of what makes us us. It gets brought up a lot. It would switch some things though. There are some city charges that we get reductions on. The Bill Graham. There's so many days of the year that the city gets the use of the Bill Graham. Now, I got a bill for like $50,000 from them, but much reduced from what it would be if we had the Bill Graham for 3 days, the event. So if we charge, then some of those charges will go back up. I don't have that much political clout to make an announcement that we are charging at Pride, but yeah, I wish yeah.
Is there a way to market it though? Is there a way to say, hey, we're taking all of this, you don't have to watch Kaiser and Bank of America and all
Well, like,
but to do that, we need your support.
$2 million worth. $2 million worth. And most of the sponsors, just so you know, the sponsors, few of the sponsors have some activations at the Civic Center, but it's not really their jam. Their jam is coming down that parade and getting that shot on social media or on ABC7 of their contingent going down the parade. So it's really not the same. Like you could take all the people out of the Civic Center as far as corporations, but you'd still be lost with, that's really where the huge bill is and how you're going to pay for the talent and everything. West Hollywood does do that. They do charge. JJLA is a very professional. They have great stages. I mean, it is really cool, but the city pays for it.
what governance structure does SF Pride have to avoid like your successor coming in having a really oddball view, like vegan, any company that sells meat or does leather is out, no Folsom, it's leather. Like, how do you future-proof so you don't get some crazy misalignment in the board that's going to really cut funding for things that today we don't think are, no-nos?
Pride is not insulated from, Pride is kind of the focal point where you will have people coming in. I mean, I think to make sure trans people were seen, Pride felt that before other organizations did. We are a member organization. Everybody here, if you're not a member of Pride, it can cost you as little as $15 a year. sfpride.org, you should be a member. When you're a member, you get to vote for the board. Our board of directors is member elected. When I decided to be on the board, I ran for the board. So the impetus to go back to the granting, like the $140,000 grant program, that came from Jack Beck from Turnout, who decided to run for the board because I was giving some of that money to professional concessionaires. It was easier. But queer people were missing out on that money. And Jack ran for the board with that. That was his platform. And he made the board, and then he convinced our board, and I enacted what the board, and I agreed with it, although it made my life a little more difficult. But so we're not insulated, to tell you the truth. You shouldn't take it for granted. I think we all saw Long Beach. You saw that, right? An hour before, Long Beach Pride canceled.
Isn't that funny?
And
when people just show up
tell you
randomly,
how
you're
many
like,
times
I
we've
know
been
that
closed.
person.
It's not going to happen now, but it is really fragile. And if people don't get involved, like Wynn gave 7 years of his life to the board of directors. I gave 8. I gave 4.5 years of my life to the board of directors. I'm sure you're not getting paid here for your board of director service. Like, get involved, and then you can make sure that I don't think it would happen at Pride. I think we'll go the other way, to make sure you have to do leather, but.
And just, to emphasize, like, these are all community organizations. And, if you want to get involved in the Dyke March, talk to Rocket, they're all, I mean, and it can be really messy, to be sure. But, these are community institutions, and when historically we have had, decisions made by leadership of community institutions that weren't popular with the community. They heard about it, right? Like, they heard about it, and it forced changes. There's a reason why you can vote for members of the Pride board of directors, right? And that all goes back to sort of history of how these decisions have been made, and when the community has said, no, this actually belongs to us, and we want to have a role in this. And so, which is if you have opinions, if you have skills, if you have resources, if this is something that's important to you, it's an opportunity to step up and be a part of boards of directors, be a part of organizing groups. Like, these organizations really do belong to us.
So I personally have an agenda with getting the city to pay for these things. I mean, it's unconscionable to me that they market Pride as a tourist destination, and yet they don't pay for it. They expect not in the case of Pride, so SF Pride, but the Dyke March and the Trans March to pay exorbitant fees for permits and whatever else, the services, the vendors that they have to employ in order to get the job done of keeping a safe, well-managed machine to produce the events. I mean, what can we do to get the city to pay for what they should be paying for?
Start with your supervisor, but I will tell you, like, Supervisor Mandelman has really gone to bat. Like, San Francisco Pride has received more money from the city in the last 5 years than we had. It's just that as you know, Rocket, that the astronomical cost of these events in this city, the city is not keeping pace. But it has to start with our supervisors. I can tell you that I have beat down Mayor Lurie's door. I like Mayor Lurie. He is never going to fund our events. He is just not. The people he answers to aren't that enamored with all our events, especially yours and the Trans March. I'm doing everything I can. I wish I had the magic answer. We have formed the Street Fair Coalition, which, Rocket, we should be talking.
How's the post, Reagan?
March will never come to the Street Fair Coalition. I think our purpose with Street Fair Coalition, us, Castro, Folsom, is I thought we could have some more lobbying power.
Good
right?
find.
Like, my God, look how much money I'm not sure the people that are running this city right now really care to bring people to San Francisco to go to Pride or to go to the Dyke March. They might be profiting a little bit economically, but that's not the image of San Francisco that they to make me cry. That's not the San Francisco they're telling people to come to. They want you to come to Union Square and buy a really nice expensive watch. They don't want freaks to come be with other freaks, I don't think.
Yeah, just to amplify and echo that. I mean, one piece of it is, yeah, vote for, we need more queer people who come from community in elected office in this city. That is, Harvey Milk, elect Jose Julio Sarria for supervisor, right? Like that's our history right here. We need to elect queer people. I think we have a mayor who, in his campaign, like he didn't have to come to queer community institutions to ask for our vote in the same way that previous candidates for mayor have. He doesn't have the same connections to community. He doesn't have the same investment. He doesn't answer to queer community in the way that previous mayors did, and that shows in his funding priorities.
Because if they were looking at the email on the stream to see what account I was signed in under. So that gave them that information. And then when I signed in under a different account, I still followed the original link. And so the original email populated and they were able to remove me based on the original link that I signed in under. That's why. Has nothing to do with the VPN, has to do with how they had the email set up.
And, we are currently facing substantial budget cuts from this from the city right now in HIV prevention, in LGBTQ health, in immigrant health, in harm reduction. We are facing cuts in all of the same things that the Trump administration is trying to cut, right? The Trump administration is cutting and criminalizing gender affirming care. What is our current mayor's health department proposing? Cuts to Lion Martin, cuts to our community, San Francisco Community Health Center, like cuts to our community services. And, like if he's proposing cuts with one hand, he's not going to be increasing funding to our community organizations with the other. And I think, it comes back to building political power and making ourselves heard and making it clear that we are a part of this community. And we live in an extremely wealthy city, right? Like this is such a wealthy city and it is getting wealthier by the minute. And yet so little of that wealth translates into, queer organizations or queer events, right? Which is not because some of the leaders of these, companies aren't gay themselves, like Peter Thiel and Sam Altman and all these people, right? And but the money doesn't, that is not, they don't engage with community in any way that results in more resources for us. So I think it's, get involved with your local political group, get involved in your neighborhood Democratic club. I've got a call to action that I'll do if you want to get involved in our budget fights. It's, we have to make ourselves heard because, yeah, we, like so many people, we are such a driver of economic development in this city. And the mayor wants to talk about all these people coming for downtown, events, right? But a lot of them are queer events, like the Downtown First Thursday is run by a queer woman, and yet there's no.
They're not gay events; they're queer events.
Which all of this nightlife and entertainment that they're trying to promote is actually, coming out of the queer community.
Do we have anyone else who has any questions or anything they'd like to add? All right.
Yes, on D, says Lito. Yes, so I will, so if it's okay, I will give a call to action. So I work for the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. We are part of the People's Budget Coalition. We house the HIV Advocacy Network, and we are facing millions of dollars in cuts to HIV prevention in San Francisco, of all places. We're facing cuts to our harm reduction and substance use disorder treatment programs in this city. We are facing cuts to LGBTQ health, including our health clinic.
Bro. The people in the video cannot hear you. Why do conservatives think the people in the video can hear them? Why do conservatives chat in things to my chat that indicate they have no idea what they're talking about, by the way? That make it seem like they're talking to the people in the video? The people in the video can't hear you, actually.
At a time when we know these services are being cut at the federal level. And so our call to action is to get involved. We have a very easy, you can take out your cell phone and I will give you a phone number. And if you text fight cuts to this number, you get an opportunity to send an email to our elected officials, to Mayor Lurie, to the members of the Board of Supervisors, to be a part of the community pushback. So if you want to dig out your phones, the phone number is 1-888-272-2848.
Okay, if you're fully aware, then stop using my chat to work out your fragile feelings by pretending you're talking to the people in the video and instead attach your top lip to your bottom lip, shut the fuck up and listen.
And if you text the words fight cuts to that number, you'll get an opportunity to send an email. You can change the email. You can figure out what you want to do, but you can also get updates from us moving forward. So again, it's 888-272-2848 and text fight cuts to that number, and you'll have an opportunity to be a part of the movement to help save our services.
Okay, I have a call to action for everybody. Great questions today, but I can tell you, you go to sfpride.org. On June 10th, Peaches Christ will be putting on We Built This City, a queer entertainment at the Castro Theater. There will be a VIP party upstairs that you can buy tickets for at sfpride.org. Tuesday night of Pride Week.
Yo,
Pride
Cynthia!
Glide on Saturday morning.
Cynthia, thank you!
Rocket and I will be at 10 a.m. I think we'll be at the Embarcadero and Market. We will have the Trans Ally March with the Indivisible SF people, the People's March.
The Trans
the Dyke
Ally March.
And the Dyke Some Bikes will lead it. If you were here
I've
because
never
you
seen
want
that
Pride to
one
be more
before.
political, that's what we're trying to do. And then on Sunday, obviously the parade, but Sunday afternoon, we'll have our fabulous party in the Asian Art Museum. So you can go on sfpride.org and get tickets to all those events. And people buying tickets to those events surely helps us eliminate some corporate funding.
All right. Well, that's it. That is the end of the stream. We got through that, so that was a W. Gotta consider the new information given to me by Voices of Florida Fund to be a W, because that just means I'm gonna have to infiltrate their training a little bit differently the next time I do it, and the next time after that, and the next time after that, and the next time after that. And maybe sometimes, maybe sometimes having the audio recording is enough, because I can just take screenshots on my end with the stream without displaying the actual thing on the screen too. Yeah, I mean, this is actually like, don't underestimate this. This is like an infiltration W. It just means, listen, situations change, you got to adapt. When socialists have a moment of clarity, you have to say, all right, so, and this is why, guys, we have to learn about the left. This is what the right doesn't do. The right doesn't do this shit. The right doesn't bother to even engage with the left to learn about how to get around them. We now know what they're going to do. So now we know how to get around them. We have at least 2 or 3 strategies for getting around them for the next time we do it. So that's also a W for us. W stream, W channel membership goal. Thank you guys so much for helping me reach the channel memberships. As a reminder, Mac B is doing a movie night tonight in the supporter Discord at 9 p.m. Eastern time, where he is watching part 2 of The Greatest Story Ever Told. They watched part 1 last week. So if you want to join for part 2 of the epic Bible epic, make sure you join the supporter Discord. If you just got one of the 110 gifted channel memberships given out today, what you need to do is go to, hang on, I will show you explicitly what to do. What you need to do is go to my YouTube channel homepage, click on the post tab. Excuse me. Click on the post tab. And when you are a YouTube channel member, at the very top of the page, the first post that you see will be an invitation to the Discord. I sent it out last night for last night's movie night, but it still works. So click on the link, go into the Discord, get verified, get access to movie night. And as I said, just in case the Voices of Florida Fund are actually paying me money, because they could be paying me money. That might be how they found out last week where I was streaming their training. They could actually be paying me money. Just in case they are doing that, I will remind them that I have other Discords that there is no way that they can get into unless they get the link directly from me. And so, if you think that getting into my supporter Discord is going to give you any additional information, probably not. Probably not, guys. Probably not. But that's all right. The games continue. The games continue. All right, guys. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll do it all over again. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.